Listen, you're just going to have shitty days. And at the end of the day, you got to do the thing. Do the thing that moves the needle forward.
I have the personal story of success. Like from the outside, it looked one way, and inside I was like slowly dying. Why am I doing this? Why should I even be doing this? I just want to let go. Like, I have enough.
Okay, but we have a co-star audition for you for Will and Grace. I'm like, fine. So I do it. I go to the casting office, and the casting director's like, great, Mel, let's have you do it again. I'm like, fine, I don't care, I'm quitting. So I go in, I do the thing, they give me a redirect. They're like, great. So I go out to my car, cry, right? Because now I'm quitting. I'm officially quitting. I don't even know what I'm going to do. And then my agent calls and said, hey, listen, you booked it. I mean, actors face more rejection in a year than people do in a lifetime. And you have to have a healthy foundation to be able to support that rejection. I always tell my actors, take the temperature of the room, right? Like if everybody is talking to you and they come in, hey, great, how you doing? Nice to see you. You want to take the temperature and actually have a conversation. But if you come into the room and I'm saying to you, oh, hey, great, nice to see you. So we're going to go ahead and hop right in with the slate. We don't have time. We're running behind. Maybe something's happened. And as an actor, it's important. As a human, it's important to be able to assess that and not make it about you.
Welcome, Mel, to Ambitiously Intelligent. We are thrilled to have you here. Mel Mack, casting director, SAG-AFTRA actor, acting teacher. You have your own acting studio. And you're an author on top of it. Yeah. 101 acting tips. Like wow, your career is so inspiring and beautiful. And as I've told you before, I've been following you on social media for a while now. And I'm impressed by how you just give. You give and give and give. You're really out there to support. You're out there to support actors. And actors, we know how hard it is as an actor myself. And as a casting director, getting this beautiful support from you, it means a lot, I have to say. So thank you for that. And we're going to start with something very serious.
Okay. Uh-oh. Okay.
It's called Hooters.
All right.
And you talked about that people kept telling you you should do commercials. And I mean, girl, if you were working for Hooters, I understand that. I mean, you are gorgeous. So definitely, over the top gorgeous. Did you believe them at first? Because even when you're a young, beautiful woman, and even if you're working at Hooters, sometimes it's hard because we judge ourselves and all of that. Did you immediately go yeah, they're right. I should be doing commercials? Or was it just you're you know what? Just being curious and going I'm just going to try it. I don't care.
The latter. For sure. I mean, I was Sporty Spice at Hooters.
Love it. I love it. Well, tell us more, because that was the entry for you into the industry. That was the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, right? It was just because people kept suggesting it, and I really loved working at Hooters. It was a lot of fun, and I met a lot of different people, and I've waited tables all through college, so I'm a people person, and I like people, and I'm curious about people, and yeah, I had a couple regular customers that would say, "No, you should just try it." I was like, "Yeah, I should just try it."
And how did you, from there, going to these commercials and doing the auditions, how did then, that was because that was your entry point into this whole industry. Yeah. Tell us more.
I remember I was doing background work, and I was living in Florida at the time. And I'd done a lot of background work. I did background work for The Birdcage with Robin Williams and Nathan Lane, and that was a 12-hour shoot for 3 days. Day 3, I'm like, I got to pack it up. I can't do this anymore. And so my agent said, oh, they need background actors on a SAG national commercial. A lot of times, Mel, there's an opportunity where you get bumped up and you become a principal. Do you want to do it? And I said, yeah. So in the commercial, people were playing football, like tag football, a bunch of friends. I don't even remember what the product was. And I had a friend at Hooters, and she said, Mel, you should braid your hair. It would be really cute. Braid your hair, wear this kind of football jersey thing. It's so typical Hooters, right? Like you're half the time walking around in that anyway. I said, oh, that's such a great idea. So I show up to set, and as an extra, you don't get your hair and makeup done. And so I remember sitting in holding, and they had us come, and I'm a pretty good athlete. And so the director's like, oh, okay, Mel, you throw the ball and then just run a little bit, whatever. So I do the thing, back to one, do the thing, do the thing. They go to have lunch break and said, hey, listen, we just want to let all the extras know after lunch, we're going to post on, the old school foam board, the black foam board, if you've been upgraded or not to a principal role. Oh my God, this is it. I'm going to be upgraded. And so after lunch, I didn't want to be too desperate. And I was just casually hanging around the foam board, and my picture was on there. So they had taken a picture. And what was funny is that the girl that was the other principal, they suddenly had her in braids. And being on the commercial casting side now, it's so much, yes, it's about your talent, but it's also about the look. And so something that had happened when we were shooting before lunch made wardrobe, or somebody said, hey, let's change the girls' hair to braids. Super fun.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I made a lot of money off that commercial. That was my introduction into the SAG eligible world.
Which is sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet.
It's good.
Yeah.
Good times.
And then progressing from that, you were telling us that you were kind of meeting major people, working on real sets, booking roles. And somehow along the way, you felt also a little bit miserable. And I have a personal story of success as well. Like from the outside, it looked one way, and inside I was like slowly dying. But people took it as a strength point. I will enter in the rooms, people were like, oh, she's just like nonchalant. She just don't show that she's interested or something like that. And somehow they mistaken this as like, I exuberate strength and exuberant that kind of sense of like self. What did that experience teach you about maybe casting choices for future? I think it was very informative, no? With people.
As far as on the casting set, reading the room. I got really good. I've always been good at reading the room because, as I was saying, I grew up with my mom was bipolar. So as a young kid, I had to navigate and always be one step ahead. I had to read the room, assess the room. What's her personality going to be like? How am I going to handle that? And that prepared me to be social in a way that I knew if it was a safe situation or I needed to get out of it. Or how do I handle this? And so, yeah, I think I always tell my actors, take the temperature of the room, right? Like if everybody is talking to you and they come in, hey, great, how you doing, Emma? Nice to see you. What are you doing this summer? Yeah, you want to take the temperature and actually have a conversation. But if you come into the room and I'm saying to you, oh, hey, great, nice to see you. So we're going to go ahead and hop right in with a slate. We don't have time. We're running behind. Maybe something's happened. And as an actor, it's important. As a human, it's important to be able to assess that and not make it about you, right? So getting back to your question, if I'm understanding it correctly, you're saying how I was quite miserable on the inside, but presenting in a different way. And how did that prepare me for the casting world? Listen, you're just going to have shitty days. And at the end of the day, I have a mentor, Lynette Spano. She's amazing. You got to do the thing. You got to still do the thing. And Brian Tracy writes this book called Eat the Frog, right? So you do the hardest thing first. Yes. It's taken me years to learn that, but it's brilliant. And it just reminds me, listen, you don't want to do it, Tanae, but just do the thing, Mel. Do the thing that moves the needle forward. And it might suck and you feel crappy, but at least you did one thing to move whatever you're doing forward. And it's essential. And then if you continue to have those days, you have to reassess. What's your life about? What's your moral compass? Is it to be joyful and have happiness and create that in the world? Or continue to present a false sense of self to the world so you can keep the train moving. It's a fine line.
Did you have that early on, that way of looking at it? Or is this something you've learned, as
No way. If I did, oh my God, can you imagine? I'd probably be, I don't know, inventing something that's competing with SpaceX.
Because you told us that you had, and I understand this, as an actor, and I'm sure the actors you work with, where you just question the decision to be an actor. And we're just like, why? Why am I doing this? Why should I even be doing this? I just want to let go. Like, I have enough. And you told us that you had those moments yourself, which kind of funnily led to amazing jobs, which is amazing because others are like miserable and don't get the jobs, but you did. Can you tell us about that? That's kind of
as far as the jobs I booked.
That's kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I've always been lucky, and I'm competitive. I played a lot of sports in junior high and high school, and I want to win. At the end of the day, I want to win. So when it comes to acting, I'm that person. And I can remember when I ended up getting my agent, at the time it was J. Michael Bloom and then Mitchell K. Stubbs in Los Angeles. I was going into those rooms to win. I wasn't there to be your friend. And I can remember a couple of auditions where people try to throw you off your game. It's the Olympics. You watch the Olympics and you have the swimmers there and they're competing against it. They're not chatting it up. They're not trying to be best buddies. They're there to win. They're competing there for the gold. So for me, I always felt like that. And in an unhealthy way, maybe that adds some pressure that doesn't necessarily need to be there. I don't know, but it worked for me. And I started to book jobs. But when I felt good about what I did in the room, I never booked. I never got a call. I mean, I never even got a call back. But when I felt really crappy, I booked the work. I just could not believe it. It was mind blowing. And I went in. So when I got with my agent in Los Angeles, what was the first audition I had? I think it was 90210. And Tori Spelling was directing. I was like, yes, I grew up with this show. This is awesome. And so I was playing a flight attendant. And so I had some dialogue, and it was your agents always do a good job of like, just so you know, it's the first show of the season and she's directing it. Oh, great. That just adds added pressure. So I was so green. I didn't really know the TV world. And because Mark Hirschfeld had referred me, this agency took me on. And so I prepared for 90210. And I was a person where I was like, oh, I can't do anything else. I have to memorize these lines for 10 hours. I have to give up my waitressing shifts. And like, this is just what it is. So that was part of the misery. I didn't trust myself. I didn't have a training tool to be able to know when to let it go. Like, hey, this is enough. Like, just chill out. You're going to remember these 2 pages. And so I remember walking into the room, and I felt like everybody who's ever worked on 90210 was in that room. There must have been like 40 people. The director was there, like the whole cast was there, directors, writers, probably friends of people, spouses of people, who knows? Because they've been on the show forever, right? And so I walk in and I had a bag. So I was like, well, I'm a airline stewardess. I must have a prop, right? So I walk in. And so they're like, okay, great. Do you have any questions? And the door was behind me. And then, ahead of me was just a wall. And I was like, no, I'm great. So I turn around to do, kind of start that way, a little dramatic as I'm walking in. And they were like, great. And they laughed. I'm like, oh my God, what? This isn't funny. Like, I'm taking it on as like, no, I'm terrible. I'm tanking in the room. I can't believe it. I'm blowing my first audition. I'm going to get dropped by my agent. All of that is going on while I'm being redirected. So I don't hear anything they say. So I do it again. And this time I decide I'm just going to leave for the door, right? Because the character goes to get on the airplane. And she's talking to Dylan, the character Dylan. So I leave, and I'm so nervous. I kind of trip on something and then fall into the door, like literally. So now everybody's laughing. Oh my God, Mel, that was hilarious. That was so good. Thank you so much. And I walked out, and I just cried in my car, and I booked it. So How does that make sense? And I felt like every job, maybe not NCIS, no, that didn't happen. Criminal Minds, no, that didn't happen. Will and Grace, yes, that happened.
Let's stop
Do you
there.
have some sort of theory? How does this work now when you are like, looking from the other side, from the casting director side? Do you have any explanation, any theory?
Right.
It's such a great question because last night in class, for example, there was an actor and there was a casting. I hold casting director workshops at our studio because I think it's important. And so I'll bring in colleagues of mine, and this one actor just couldn't get it right. The setup wasn't right. They felt like right from the get-go. And I could just see it. And I just know that feeling. And they just were tanking and tanking. And then they get the redirect, and I can see that they're reading it, that they didn't do anything right. And I'm watching thinking like, this is great work. I'm curious to see what they do with the redirect. But there was such a disconnect between what I know this actor and what was going on there, and took the redirect and then immediately shut off their camera. And I'm putting in the text in the chat, that was great, it was terrible, I'm going to go home and cry, I'm only giving myself a couple more months in this business, like I just can't do it anymore. And I get it. I mean, actors face more rejection in a year than people do in a lifetime, and you have to have a healthy foundation to be able to support that rejection. I didn't have that. I didn't have a healthy foundation. Who's memorizing 2 pages for 14 hours? That's insane. That's insane. Right? And it's not fun, So from the casting director side, I'm like, we literally want you to win. There are so many actors that aren't prepared for those opportunities that if you come in, and even if you're here, wow, and you give us some there to take you here, awesome. Yeah. We're not bringing you in like, hope you can act. No, everybody that we bring in is at the same acting level. We're there to be able to literally see, can you execute the direction in a short amount of time? And how are you to work with? Are you a good human who's going to be able to be on set with us for a couple of days?
That's a very good point. And I want to highlight that because I used to have a class with directing actors, and our teacher used to tell us that the most important thing if you are a director on set with a casting director is to understand that the actor can get the direction, and like if they're flexible enough to like be able to think on their toes. So, you guys, actors out there, casting directors are champion up for you. Don't worry.
Yes, they are. They love you.
And directors. And
directors, for
sure. Directors will really fight for somebody. It's amazing to me how many times the client will say, oh, well, shouldn't we have had them turn to the left when they did that? You think they're going to be able to do that on set? And in my head, I'm like, what? What do you mean? They're actors. But they're coming from they're coming from the business side. So they don't understand the craft side of it. And you'll have the director, if they're a smart director and they know business, yeah, no problem. I'd really like to work with that actor. I know you might want to go with this actor. We're going to get a lot more out of this actor.
Yeah, that is beautiful. Let's talk about that. Rejection and healthy foundation and Will and Grace and Madonna.
Madonna, it's never going to go away. I love her so much.
I love her so much.
Yeah. I do.
This experience, like seeing someone so iconic. I mean, that woman, she has had a lot of rejections in her life. It's not like that. And she has worked her butt off and still is, which is awesome. It's just awesome. Shout out to Madonna. Whoa.
For sure.
What did that moment show you? Like, what did it teach you working with her on set?
Well, first I'd met her a couple times in Miami and South Beach before South Beach became a big deal. I knew a buddy through when I worked at Hooters, and he ran the VI Hooters. It all started at Hooters, everybody. They should be a sponsor for this podcast, actually.
Exactly.
So he worked at her brother's lounge in South Beach. It was like one of the first cool bars there. And so I remember watching her get rejected from this bar that was on Lincoln Road. They didn't believe it was her. Hilarious. And I'd seen her a few times, like over the 2 years I lived in South Beach. And so when I found out, when I went to Will and Grace, another one of those moments where I'm like, oh, I'm quitting the business. I can't handle it anymore. I had almost tested for a pilot and I didn't get it. And, it was just this whole thing with Joan Cusack and she didn't want to do it anymore. And I was like, what? I was so close to being your sister. And so then they're like, okay, but we have a co-star audition for you for Will and Grace. I'm like, fine. So I do it. I go to the casting office, which was on set at the time, or which was on the studio a lot. And the casting director's like, great, Mel, let's have you do it again. I'm like, fine, I don't care, I'm quitting. I mean, I was so bold that when I was in the waiting room, I was reading a newspaper. I was like, I already know this. I'm not doing 14 hours on this thing anymore. I'm just doing it. I don't care. I was in the waiting room and there were 5 other people there, wildly different. So in my head, I'm like, clearly casting doesn't know what they want. Right? So, clearly they don't know how to do their job. And so I go and I do the thing. They give me a redirect. They're like, great. So I go out to my car, cry, right? Because now I'm quitting. I'm officially quitting. Call my manager, have the conversation like, look, or my agent. I'm like, I really don't think I can do this anymore. And he's like, why don't you go home and think about it? And I'm like, I don't know. There's nothing to think about. Right. So I go back to my little single room, depressing 2-burner stove apartment. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm just going to quit. I don't even know what I'm going to do. And then my agent calls and said, hey, listen, you booked it, but it's a big guest star. I'm like, wait, there's no way I booked that. He's like, yeah, you booked it. They're sending the script to your house. Don't freak out at the guest star or something like that. Mm-hmm. So, me thinking like, oh my God, it's Cher. I knew it's going to be Cher. I'm so excited. Right. We can do like a karaoke duet, whatever. So I find out it's Madonna and I'm over the moon. Like I can't even believe it. So we get to set and I just loved Will and Grace anyway. I loved watching it. The comedy was off the charts. I teach multi-camera sitcom and I'm really good at multi-camera sitcom and I just loved it. And Jimmy Burrows is an incredible director. He's retired now, but it was myself, this other guy I'd seen at castings, Todd, and Madonna and Jimmy. And so we were having like a mini table read, just us. And one of the jokes was in there was about J-Lo. It was J-Lo and something about Coyote Ugly because that movie was like a big deal at the time. And Madonna's like, I would never say that. I wouldn't say that. And so Jimmy's like, M. I was like, oh, he's calling her M. Ooh. He's like, M, when you have to say that. When you say that, it's funny because it's coming from you. I was like, this is fascinating that there's this woman that is such an icon who's telling like one of the biggest, if not the biggest multi-camera sitcom directors, at the time that she's just not going to say that, but the writers as well. Right. So whatever, they work it out. So I was on set for a couple days and I always like to sit and watch. I want to see what everybody's doing. If you could get that in college, you don't get that in college, right? You don't get that kind of experience. So I remember sitting and watching, and it was a bar fight scene. And Madonna was there, and she had whoever her stunt person is, but she was there. I mean, doing the work. And I just watched this woman work, and I was like, that's what it takes. That regardless of what you do, that is the work ethic. And nobody sees the behind the scenes. Nobody sees that caliber of commitment. And I noticed she was nervous. When she listens to this, yes, call me, you were nervous. It's the truth. So she was nervous. It made me less nervous because I saw how nervous she was. Think about it. You're putting yourself in a totally different medium. I mean, even though she did, win for, why can't I think of the name of the movie? Don't Cry for Me, Argentina. Right? So it's a different experience because now you're in multi-camera sitcom. So I can understand that and how brave to do that, to be able to take on even more criticism about something you've never done before. So again, right? So we get to tape day and I can't remember if it was Megan Mullally or whatever. Somebody was like, oh, the series regulars are getting their CDs signed by Madonna. I'm like, what? Like, why am I not in? Wow, nobody told me to bring it. Nobody told me to bring my CD. And the day before a tape day, usually you're given tickets to invite people, right? You can invite friends or family members to come to tape day. So this set was on lockdown. I have never seen so many people on set. She had her own makeup artist. She had like a golf cart. There were helicopters. The set was on lockdown. Nobody from any other show could come and watch the taping. was like, what is happening? And then after the taping, it was going to be Megan Mullally, like Entertainment style with Madonna. It was like a whole shebang. So this girl, I think her name was Grace at the time, was one of her assistants. And I had gone up to her and I didn't know this, that you couldn't get tickets. And so I said, oh, hey, Grace, my cousin's in town from Colorado. I would love it if he could come. Any way that, I could get a ticket? And she's like, yeah, sure, no problem. I'm like, okay, great. So I tell my cousin, oh, you're going to be able to come. It's going to be great. It's going to be Madonna, la, 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 la. So somehow through the grapevine, they thought that I was a friend of Madonna. And so that's why I was given a ticket to my cousin. I mean, all of her friends were there. I think I was like, okay, I think Sandra Bernhardt was there. Rosie O'Donnell was there. There's just like a star-studded people there, which I'm sure put more pressure on her. I don't know, but it just seemed like it did. And so we get to tape day, and it's taking a really long time to tape an episode. And so we get to my part, which is now one line. And the whole joke of it is that she has to like hit me out with her hip. And all I'm thinking is like, oh my God, if this woman does not hit me with her hip, I'm going to get fired. It's not going to be funny and they're going to cut it. And so she's standing there with me and she's messing it up. And I'm like, you have to like hit me out of the way. That's the joke. She's like, well, what if I just grab your boobs instead? I'm like, I don't care. It really honestly doesn't matter. Just do the thing so we can make the joke happen. Sounds great. So at that point, you really level the playing field because you're both trying. It's for the highest good of the project and everybody involved. And you have to collaborate and put that ego aside, which my experience was she was really good at doing. And I really love, I haven't had that experience working with somebody in the creative field who has that level of dedication and wanting to be collaborative.
Shout out to Madonna. Just saying.
Right?
Just
right?
saying.
Holiday.
No, seeing people who are doing great things out there and staying humble and staying, like seeing that they're human, that's another level. It gives you like some sort of boost you cannot even like put into words, but it makes you more human yourself, I think, and believe that everything is possible. And stars are human too. Yeah,
for sure. We need more Madonna. We need more Taylor Swifts. We need more women that are younger and strong and confident and standing up for what they believe in and not backing down and taking the hits publicly.
Yes. True. And going from there to the moments of where you wanted to quit, and maybe you were still looking for your own medium, like acting obviously is something that you're great in, but you had the experience with you mentioned Liz Paulson, and you said that she was a mentor to you. She brought you into the casting world and basically told you, I think it's a thing or two about casting. During this experience, was there a moment where you were like, kind of paused for a second and felt, okay, maybe I can build a career around this? Or was it more like a natural progression of things where one thing led to the other and you found yourself being a casting director, which I don't believe.
No, it's the dots that Steve Jobs talks about, right? And no, I never thought that. I just thought, how the hell do I get out of LA and back to New York? Mm-hmm. And what have I learned here that I can offer to somebody that could potentially hire me in New York so that I can become a valuable asset to them, because I really like doing this. I'm really passionate about it.
Mm-hmm. And so take us on that journey. How did you end up in New York? How did how did you end up doing casting first and foremost?
Well, it really does go from the acting side of it. So I didn't book a pilot, so I got dropped by my agent and I was freaked out. Mm. And back at the time, I had understood that it was a business and I needed to stay in contact with casting directors. And I was able to do that effectively. And I remember one of my friends calling me and saying, hey, I know you don't have an agent right now. I have an audition for you. And I got the audition for Criminal Minds, and it was great. I was so appreciative. And I ended up getting to work with Amy Madigan, who just won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, and she was awesome. And so that was a fantastic experience for me. And there were a lot of moving parts. And again, working with great humans and really talented actors. And so at that point, when I left Los Angeles and that was really when I was like, listen, what am I doing? I'm casting 5 days a week. I'm still auditioning. I'm really struggling to get an agent. I'm really struggling to get a manager. I have good casting. I'm still getting auditions because I still knew the business side of it and knew what I needed to do that, because I'm scrappy like that. I'm a hustler. And so I was like, all right, I got to figure it out. I got to save some money. I got to get out of this industry for a hot second because I'm not happy. I need to get out of Los Angeles. My friends, just got back from India. I was like, what? Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should go to India and on this like eat, pray, love thing. And so I'm Buddhist. I'm Nichiren Buddhism, which is Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. And Tina Turner she opened her Broadway show with that. And so, I would chant every day, and I put on my altar, I'm going to set my life on fire. I really want some things to change. Go to India. I'm going to do this thing. And so making that decision, things started to come through. People that I was at work with over at 200 South in Los Angeles. Oh, Mel, if you go, you should meet my friend. She lives in Vietnam. That would be cool if you want. Oh, I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I'm going to Vietnam now too. And somebody's like, oh, you should check out Malaysia. I was like, oh, all right, they're close. This is what I'm doing. So now I'm chanting to travel the world, right? Chanting, set my life on fire, travel the world. And I just moved apartments. So I decided I was expanding my life. It was the first time ever I'd gotten a roommate. She just moved from New York. Spoke mainly Spanish. I did not speak Spanish. We lived in Echo Park in this very Hispanic neighborhood at the time. And maybe we'd been living there for a month and maybe 6 weeks. So I was chanting. She's like, can you shut the door? It's just a little loud. And I was like, I'm going to chant for her life. I'm chanting for everybody to be happy, right? Like, she wanted to shut the door. I'm going to chant her over the door. And so chanting, friends going over chant, all this stuff. And so I go for a run over by Dodger Stadium. And I used to take my dogs. So I'd run early in the morning. I never take my purse. But I was like, I'm going to get coffee. I'm going to really treat myself in this new expanded life I'm creating. I'm going to treat myself for a coffee. So, I throw my purse in the trunk, lock everything up, and I go for a run. And I come back and I get in the car. I'm like, wait, what? I didn't leave the door open. And so now I'm kind of like, I'm looking around the car. I'm like, something's not right. And I go in the trunk. I'm like, great, my purse is gone. Luckily, I had my keys. So, of course, you tell the Buddhist community that. They're like, congratulations. Everything was stolen. This is great. You get to get new ATM card, new bank accounts, new energy, Mel, for your new life. And you want to cry. And then you're like, oh, what? Yes. Okay. Congrats. It's an opportunity, right? It's amazing. Okay. So I call my bank that day. And she's like, hey, listen, you used to have fire insurance. I know there's a lot of fires going on out there. Do you want to get fire insurance on your apartment? I was like, just give me the cheapest one. She's like, well, do you want to kind of assess what you have in your apartment? I'm like, no, I'm an actor. Just give me the cheapest one. Yeah. So, and a casting director, like both of those things are kind of evening out to a decent salary. Right. And so, chanting, do I have things? 7 days later, I'm in the shower. My roommate I have somehow slept through my alarm, which I never do. And so I'm in the shower. My dogs are there. My roommate is sleeping because she had just moved in or whatever. And so my dogs are freaking out and I hear this alarm. And I'm like, what is going on? And so I get out of my shower and I kind of go around the corner and I see smoke coming out of this closet in my kitchen. And I'm like, oh, I don't have time for this. I'm going to be late for work. So I finished taking the shower because I was like, oh, maybe it's just something, whatever. So I finished taking a shower and now the dogs are really panicked. And I come out and like the whole kitchen is gone and there's flames. It's starting to move into the living room. It's not a big apartment. So now I'm yelling fuego to my roommate. Like, wake up, that we have a fire. I'm in a towel. I'm throwing on like some crappy, whatever, sweatpants. I don't know where my dogs are, but there's 3 different ways to get out of the apartment. You can't figure it out because now there's so much smoke, right? I don't even think to call 911. I go to my next door neighbors outside. Do I call 911? Call 911, call 911. So now the neighbors are out. I speak Spanish. I don't know where my roommate is. I don't know where my dogs are. So I'm just watching flames, and the apartments are connected and they're 2 stories. So my thought is like, oh my God, we have to get people out of these other apartments. So I'm now yelling, right? And so I'm standing outside the apartment. I'm like, oh my God, I just bought a new surfboard. So I go back in for the surfboard. The things that you don't think about, when you watch other people do it in a scary movie, don't open the door. And then they open the door. You understand why. Like go in. I was like, I need my computer. So I get my computer. I just spent $30 on a cream rinse. I literally went back in for shampoo.
It was
and then
shampoo, guys. It was
shampoo,
expensive.
$30. It was. And then $100 hair dryer just bought. Right? Like that's what I got. Literally, I'm out on the front steps with a surfboard, my computer, cream rinse, and hair dryer. Oh my God. And my roommate's next to me. And so we see all these fire trucks pull up, not just one, but like 9. And you're so out of it. I'm like, what are they here for? Like, it's just our apartment. It's not like anything, but they were here because there was an opportunity for the other places to start on fire. And so we lost everything. And I remember standing out in the back, and this is why I always give my heart to firefighters and first responders and the Red Cross, because the Red Cross showed up with gift certificates to a hotel. And standing there by my car in the back and watching just everything on fire. And the firefighter looking at me and saying, do you want me to see if there's some shoes in there that might have survived? Not wearing shoes. Not, you're just so out of it. I said, yeah, that would be great. Right. And so that happened. It was just like a big blur. A friend of mine let us stay there. I had 3 dogs at the time and my roommate just moved. And had I not had my purse stolen and gone on that run, I wouldn't have had a lot of money in my account. So I gave her some money to buy some stuff. And I was like, I am moving to New York. And anything that I could salvage, my insurance company was great. USAA plug for you guys to get another sponsor. They were amazing. And then I went to go chant, like everybody from my Buddhist community, like 60 people came together and just were chanting and invited me over. And I just remember bawling because people were chanting for my life. I was like, oh my God. And they have a center in LA, and I remember going there and just chanting and chanting and chanting. And these guys come in because they work at the center, they volunteer there. Does anybody have a car in the parking lot with the license plate number? And I was so embarrassed to raise my hand because it was a shitty Corolla. Like I'd hit everything and gotten hit by everything. And it was Orlando Bloom, because Orlando Bloom is part of the SGI community. I was like, I am not raising my hand to Orlando Bloom to admit that I have that shitty Corolla in the parking lot.
Ain't mine.
Finally, my friend's like, it's your car. And I was like, it's mine. He's like, there's a gas leak and we're afraid it's going to start on fire. No. We've called the fire department. We call the fire department. It's the same fire department. And so the guy's looking at me and he's like, did you recently have a fire a week ago? Literally a week ago. I was like, yeah. He's like, wow. And he's laughing. That was a doozy. I'm like, not there yet. I'm not there yet.
Not there yet. We're not laughing. We're not laughing. Mel, wow. I mean, okay. I know we shouldn't always, be careful what you wish for or something you said. Yes. But there was something beautiful when you told us this, where you said it was a blessing. And
yeah, for sure.
When was as the firefighter was making the joke and you were like, I'm not there yet. Like, no. When was the point when that you realized this was a huge blessing?
The minute I walked in and 60 people were chanting for me.
Really?
And congratulating me. Yeah, it was everything I chanted for. I got to travel the world for 3 months. I quit the industry. I took the money, and my best buddy was like, I'm driving cross country to Boston. I can drop you off in New York. And he's like, you want to go? I'm like, yeah. And a couple days before that, a friend of a friend said, hey, come to lunch. I want you to meet my friend. She lives in New York. That person I had just met is now 16 years later, one of my best friends. And she had said to me, yeah, when you come to New York, call me. She put me in her apartment with her 2 kids and her husband, a 2-bedroom apartment, kicked her son out of his room, and I lived with them for 3 months. Wow. So everything lined up. Had I looked at that in a different way, that it wasn't an opportunity, it wasn't a blessing, it wasn't a higher force saying, I got a better plan for you, kid. You'd never be able to orchestrate this on your own. Trust me.
Wow. And that's when you then start like fully emerging into casting director, like where you really fully go into like,
Yeah, I mean,
a
I was running
casting
sessions
director.
at house casting, right? So running sessions, Neil Meyer and Mary Egan Callahan hired me at house casting. I had been part of the opening of house casting in LA and met Neil at a Christmas party, and he was gracious enough to offer me a job. And I love working there. I've been there for 16 and a half years. One of the best companies I've worked for. They're amazing. I've met incredible people, incredible actors. We work with incredible directors and producers, and we have great clients. So I feel really, really lucky to be where I'm at.
Wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful story. Crazy.
What strikes me is that it seems like, well, that would be wrong to say nothing gets to you, of course. You know, I'm sure there are days where it's difficult to lift yourself from the couch and they're not very much spoken about, but it's true, they're real and they're there. But you keep rebuilding yourself, and as it seems, without getting bitter, closed, or, afraid from what's out there coming our way. What I want to ask you about is a woman, a business owner now. What that experience helped you to learn about the strength, the boundaries, and basically the responsibility. Responsibility, for yourself, for other people who are you taking care of, or you're coaching, how that's because that's a completely different, when you're an actor, you're kind of out there for yourself. And
Right.
yes, but once you're like kind of enlarging this pool towards other people, the responsibility gets bigger, the pool of people around you gets bigger, and that should also, kind of change your mentality around it. How did that affect you? What can you tell us about that experience? That you're currently, I think you're also still navigating, right?
Always. Life is change and navigation and flow. I've been lucky enough to meet a woman. Her name is Lynette Spano. And Lynette built a $50 million company from the ground up. And she came to me for acting because she wanted to explore. She just wanted to do it as a tool.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, long story short, she ended up being my mentor. She taught me everything in the past 4.5 years. And I met her right after I almost had my business taken down. A really, really unfortunate situation. And it leveled me. I mean, it leveled me to the point where couldn't get off my couch, didn't want to get out of bed. And, you hear people talk about it like that. Mel Robbins will talk about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people talk about it enough in a way where you really, you don't want to keep going. I didn't want to keep going. I didn't want to be involved in my relationship. I didn't want to be involved in my community. My spark was dead, was gone. And I had my neighbor, and she'd moved, and she was a bulldog of a lawyer. And thank goodness for her. And she said, "You're either going to fight or you're going to close your business. You choose. So you're going to let this situation close you down, or I'm going to help you figure it out." And she was really a godsend. And it was hard because nobody wanted to talk to me. You really find out who your friends are. People were afraid that because I was being taken down, that they were going to be taken down. I did have a couple of people really stand up for me, and I'm very, very, I have a lot of respect for those people because I know how hard it was for them to do that. And I had to make a lot of really tough phone calls. And Lynette came into my life after that, and she was the bright light that I needed. And she was the inspiration, and she was the living example of, yeah, yep, this is going to happen. Part of business. This is what you signed up for. And this isn't going to be the first time. And you're going to learn. And you're going to learn how to do it better the next time. And I love what you said about responsibility. going from the acting world, we know this. We're in a very narcissistic, egotistical business and a very fear-based business.
Yeah.
And so I now know through Lynette and through that situation. And I also had a teacher steal my course, who literally stole my course, and I had to get a lawyer for. But because I'd already had that first situation and then had somebody who was with me for a decade and then steal my course that I just worked on and spent a lot of money on during COVID, I was prepared. I was so, and I can laugh at it. Like, I really can say, yep, it's business. And I remember hearing from people, I listen to a lot of podcasts and I listen to a lot on YouTube, and I'll hear business people say, it's closest person to me. Closest person to me try to steal my business. And now I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. And I also understand why people, guarded isn't the right word, wise.
Mm-hmm.
Smartest person in the room is the quietest person in the room. At the end of the day, they don't react, right? In fact, they're terrifying. I was always telling that, like, I'm terrified of you. Like, I love you, and now you're like one of my good friends. About, woo, baby. I don't know. But it's what made her successful. And I think that and she's also a really good human and has donated and given back to the world. And the responsibility, people will say, oh, well, what do you do as an acting coach? Like, what are you doing? Is it like, why are you so busy all the time? And I don't think people understand the responsibility that I've taken on since I've learned these experiences with my actors. We don't take everybody. We're not right for everybody. I didn't understand that because I didn't have my own worth around it. I didn't understand my own value and how I could help people in a really honest, truthful way.
Mm-hmm.
And so that responsibility is big. And I watch other coaches on Instagram. I see what their jam is. That's cool. That's your thing, right? There's somebody for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I want to be able to lay my head down at night and know that I did the best that I could, even on my crappiest day, that I ate that frog, Brian Tracy, right? Eat the frog, even on the shitty day and you can't get off the couch, right? Crying on my bathroom floor, like not knowing if I'm going to be able to do it one more day, literally, right? As business owners, you're like, how am I going to pay everybody? I haven't paid myself in X amount of months. I'm done with that. But I wouldn't be done with that unless I had the responsibility first and foremost for myself and my own life, for the people that choose to study with me and trust me, and colleagues like agents and managers and casting directors that send people to us. I have a responsibility to them. I can't make somebody book. I can help them be not only a better actor, but a better human in the world. And that's what my mission is to help every single actor feel confident and comfortable and book that audition room, because you can't control the job. And to give you the tools that you need so that you can take responsibility and empower yourself in a business that needs you and requires you to do that.
That is beautiful. And there we're going to this healthy foundation, that because there's so many rejections, and that's exactly where you're empowering actors, that they have that healthy foundation, that they can take those setbacks again and again and again, which is a part of it. It just is, and we all know it. It is a part of the industry. I would love, and I want to thank you again for that. I think it's beautiful. And I would love now, as a last question, just that we go into, because I think it's really, really interesting how you change with time and how you are yourself constantly learning and making sure that, AI has entered the picture. We can't think it away anymore. It is so big, and it's here, and it's going to stay, and it's going to get more. And you have a course now that is the Actor AI Intensive. And it's interesting how, just that I don't say it wrong here, you talk about most actors are ignoring AI or using it in a way that actually hurts their career. And I think that's really interesting, the way you phrased that. How did this workshop come about? Because you didn't set out to teach AI, obviously.
No, not in a million years. The workshop started, I was in San Francisco and I watched a Tony Robbins video with Dean. AI is everywhere. And they're all jazzed about it, right? So I did a deep dive on AI. Deep dive, I mean, as much as I could. What is this about? Who created it? Who are the players in it? Where is it headed? What studios are doing what? And so I was just interested in it. And then I had a friend, Dale, who is the owner of True Model Management, an amazing human. She said, hey, Mel, I've been asked to be on a panel at FIT in New York. Would you be interested? I'm going to have a friend of mine who's a lawyer who's going to talk about IP. I said, yes, I want to learn. Can I be on that? Will you talk about it from the acting point of view, the casting point of view? I said, yeah, I'd love to. So I had to study and be able to, a lot of times college kids are a lot smarter. I would feel like, wow, these guys are asking some really powerful questions for me. I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. Plus, it's FIT, fashion and technology, right? So I can't mess this up. So I happen to be with a woman who helps me create our courseware. And she's created courseware for major corporations globally. And so she said, okay, this is interesting, Mel. I said, yeah, I think I want to teach a course after this panel. So I learned a lot on that panel. And I learned a lot from Dale and what she was talking about that she had experienced with her models. And she used to be one of Ford's top models. And so she was dealing with this back in the 80s where they'd want to scan you and scan your voice and all that jazz, right? And so it's been around since the 1930s. When it was first created. So she really got me turned on. I said, wait, what? Let me check. Who's doing that for actors? And so then I found this company, Trace ID, who William Morris Agency is using to scan all of their big actors. And I was like, what does this mean for actors at the B and C level? So I really started to investigate what is that going to look like in the future? Are we going to be our own McDonald's? Can we license ourselves out? What does it look like for acting? Are we acting with an AI created character? We're still a human, but what is that like? Is there going to be a green screen? So I just went to the basics. How am I using it on a daily basis for not only my actors in class, but also for casting? And so more and more actors started to tell me how they were using it. So I put together a course. I wanted to teach live. I haven't done that in 4 years. So I was like, well, I'm out in San Francisco with my courseware creator. Perfect place, Silicon Valley. Let's give it a roll. And so I talked to a buddy. Yeah, it was an agent friend of mine out in San Francisco. And he's like, yeah, no, I'll help you out. So we sold out our workshop. It was great. Got a lot of feedback, a lot of questions. And then I decided to put a course together because more and more actors, here's what's happening. Oh, well, I plugged this in and it gave me my branding. Great. So now what? Oh, well, now I'm just going to go to my headshot photographer. Great. It tells me that it's this type. I'm like, that's so interesting because I just plugged in the same thing and it's telling me I'm kind of similar to that type. So this is where the expert is still needed. We are training AI. And I think right now for me, what's scary about it is it's like the iPhone back in the day. That's so cool to use. Yeah, I just plugged in my flight information. I did this. Well, who's sharing that information? Did you toggle off the share? What? No way. But they put it so, you're helping us train AI models. So we really have a lot of opportunity to learn and to teach ourselves and to have a lot more awareness about how we're using these tools in a way that's not going to kill your creativity, that doesn't make you lazy and you rely on it 100%, and that still requires an expert with years of experience that can say, challenge it. That's wrong. This is wrong. What are you going to do here? How are you going to make that shift? Well, I'm just going to do what it says. I'm like, how do you know it's right? Well, because it told me. I'm like, but you're training it. So do you know that information to be able to train it, to know that it's wrong? So I really wanted to ensure from a basic level that actors are, hey, here's a good tool and how you can take your headshot and get good branding advice from that. But first, I'm teaching you how to do this on your own so you know how to challenge AI. Then I'm going to teach you how to help you with the script and your audition. But I'm going to teach you first how to do your critical thinking around it and your own creativity around it so that you can disagree when it gives you those choices. And then I'm going to teach you how to put the whole thing together to help you build a branding and acting package that empowers you to go out into the world and feel like you have a competitive edge. but you got to use it the right way. And I watch people out there training actors on AA right now. I'm like, that is not 5 years from now. Nobody knows what's happening with copyright laws. And this lawyer that I met had said, Mel, as you know, somebody asked in the panel, well, what does this look like as far as lawsuits go? And he said, as far as China and the EU have more protection than we do, because we have big tech that doesn't want to put protection in place. I understand that from a business point of view. It makes sense to me, kind of. I can make sense out of it, is what I should say.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm looking at this actor who doesn't have an agent, who maybe has a B agent, or an A- agent, who's using it to replace some things that are really going to wind up replacing them if they don't understand how to train the tool. And so when he had said, Mel, going back to when you don't know how to train the tool, and being in the United States, unlike the EU and in China, each state has its own set of laws. So you have class action lawsuits. So what if 3 years down the road, you pop that script in and now there's some copyright and somebody's suing somebody and you popped it in there because you didn't hit the right toggle, or you were doing something that somebody showed you how to do. Now you're involved in a class action lawsuit. Is that possible? I think so. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Who do you get the information from?
It's an interesting topic and a lot to dive into. And
yeah, there's a lot to unpack in it. We're just at the iceberg, tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, and I think it's beautiful that you are, supporting again actors here around it. And one thing we can only say is that never take for granted, or just don't take the first answer as a yes, this is what it is. Like you have to challenge AI the whole time and train it to ask you hard questions, at the same time ask it yourself hard questions and be on top of it. Like you are the one creating and not AI is creating for you. Like I think that's the most important thing. So it's beautiful that you are doing that. And because I know your time is and we know your time is very precious. And we want to thank you so much for this. This has been amazing. And I know we could talk forever now, let's go down that road. Where can people reach you best? We would love to put that in the show notes, obviously, the link to that course, and also to where is it best to find you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. On Instagram at Mel Mack Acting Studio, on YouTube at Mel Mack Acting Studio. Our website, melmackactingstudio.com, and my book is on Amazon, 101 Acting Tips.
This has been amazing. Thank you so
fun.
much.
Thank you both so much. I'm so, it was such a nice surprise for you to ask me to share.
Yeah, and I'm impressed, and both of us, I mean, I can only be so impressed by how you, no matter how hard it's been, you stand up and find a way. And that's beautiful. You're a big role model for us. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Thanks, ladies.
100%.
Good time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you.